welcome to my messy kitchen. I'm Zoe Rose, and today we are going to make a couscous salad with asparagus. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and get started. Okay, so right here I have got a cup of couscous, which is going to be more than enough for the base of our salad. And then I have about a cup and a third of boiling water. So just going to go ahead and pour that over top. There you go. And then I'm just going to cover that with a plate, keep the steam trapped inside, and let that sit for about 5-10 minutes while we prep the rest of our ingredients. So I love a grain and veggie salad. I love, of course, a pasta salad. And lately I've been loving this couscous salad because it's kind of like a fun combination of both. You could also make the same dish with a grain, with something like quinoa or rice or brown rice or, any grain that you fancy. But yes, I've just been really enjoying it with couscous, so that is what we are going to work with today. So it's springtime and asparagus has been just super cheap at the store and it's really in season right now, so it's really, really tasty, very readily available. So that is going to be the main star of our couscous salad. So this is just a bunch of asparagus. I've already rinsed it off and I'm just going to trim off the woody ends. And I usually, I keep a bag of veggie scraps and like chicken bones and stuff like that in my freezer to save for stock. So I will set these aside for that, or you can just discard them. And then we are actually gonna grill this asparagus up in my grill pan. Okay, so I'm heating up this grill pan over about medium-high heat, and I'm just gonna splash in a little bit of olive oil. Oops, got a little outside the pan, as per usual. Now you can also totally do, you could just saute it in a normal pan. You could grill it on an outdoor grill if you have access to something like that. You could just roast it for a few minutes, maybe about 10 minutes at a high temp, or even broil it. I like to use the grill pan indoors. It's super convenient and it allows me to kind of get a little bit of char on it, a little bit of extra flavor, and kind of gives it like a fun summery feel, but it's still really easy to do just in my kitchen. Okay, so my pan is nice and hot. I'm just gonna add in my asparagus spears. Oh yeah. These do cook up pretty quickly. I'm in the school of thought that I like my asparagus to be pretty al dente. So really I just want to get a little bit of char on it, and I just want it to be kind of tender when pierced with a fork, but just tender. So give it a couple tosses. And then I'm actually going to cover it up with a lid just for a few minutes. It doesn't have to be a super tightly fitting lid. It'll just help trap a little bit of steam that will help it to cook through. So I went ahead and left it covered for about the first 2-3 minutes, taking it off and giving the pan a little shake every now and then. And now it is almost to the level of cooked that I like, so I just want to get a little bit more char on it and just leave the lid off and let the pan do a little bit more of the work for just a couple more minutes. So at this point, this is already done to my liking. It has only been on the stove for about 4 minutes. Again, I like my asparagus to be pretty crisp, tender, pretty al dente. So if you know that you like yours cooked a little bit more, feel free to, of course, leave it on a little bit more so it gets a little bit softer. But yeah, I just been tossing the pan every minute or so, and then giving it a nice helping of salt at the end. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this from the heat and just transfer these asparagus over to a plate and keep them aside for now. Okay, so I've got my nice grilled asparagus here. That is all ready, and it's been about 5-10 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and fluff my couscous up and get ready for the next step. So you just very simply want to just kind of fluff it with a fork. It should be completely done cooking. Steam it up by now. And as you can see, 1 cup of couscous makes a really good amount once it is nice and fluffed up. And you can also use broth instead of water, or you can add any other seasonings you want to in with the liquid to give it an extra flavor boost if that is something you're into, but I just kept it simple with some boiling water today. Okay, so I realized I'm going to need a much larger bowl to incorporate the rest of my ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer my fluffed up couscous into a larger bowl. You can also just start in a larger bowl and make your couscous directly in the vessel that you will eventually mix your salad in. I didn't really think that through too hot, but what are you going to do? Okay. So we've got our couscous, we've got our asparagus. I've also been really into mustard greens lately, so I'm going to add some of those. They're super delicious green. They have a little bit of spice, a little bit of kick to them. They're super flavorful. Of course, you can substitute in any kind of green that you like. Arugula or spinach would be super tasty in this. You could also do a heartier green like kale or cabbage or collard green, something like that. If you use a green that's super hearty, that's like a little bit tougher, like a kale or something like that, you might want to just do a quick extra step, which is, chop it up, put it in a bowl, do a little bit of lemon juice and salt on it, and then mix that together first to kind of allow it to soften up before you toss it in with everything else. A lot of greens, most greens you can skip that, and again, it also just depends how kind of annoyed you'll be by a little bit of a tougher green in your salad. So it's totally up to you. Anyway, I'm going to use my mustard greens. I recently actually bought a bag of pre-chopped mustard greens. You know, I always just try to switch it up and get a different green. I like to have a hearty green handy that I can use for pasta or for salad or just for all kinds of different things. So anywho, I had recently bought a big bag of mustard greens, and oh my gosh, it lasted me so long. There were so many greens packed in there. I was just really loving incorporating them into all of pretty much everything I was eating. And I've actually already made this couscous salad twice in the last couple weeks because it's just so tasty. So I'm really excited to share it with you guys. So I've got my mustard greens. I just kind of snapped off the big stems and I'm just going to give them a nice chop. I love basically just finding all kinds of different ways to get my greens in. I love greens, and it's all about just finding new and interesting and flavorful and delicious ways to keep it fresh. Okay, so I'm gonna give them a pretty good chop. I want them to be really bite-sized pieces, and then I'm gonna toss those right in there on top of my couscous. Okay, and next, our asparagus. So yes, I've got this delicious kind of grilled asparagus that I did up in my grill pan. Again, you can also just do it, you can saute it normally in just a regular pan. You could roast it or broil it, or you could also, steam it or just give it a quick, what do they call it? A simmer, a boil, blanch it, there you go. Any kind of cooking methodology that you like. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to use the grill pan on this. So I'm just going to cut it into about inch-ish or so pieces, and then go ahead and get that in my salad as well. So I've got my couscous, I've got my veggies. You could also add all kinds of other things to this. You could sub in green beans, you could add cherry tomatoes, you could add radish. For a little bit more protein, you could add some sort of a bean, like a white bean or a garbanzo bean or any kind of bean that you like. Again, this is the portion where I, just let you know, feel free to add anything you want. I've enjoyed kind of keeping it a little bit simple just to these several ingredients, but anything that you have hanging around that you want to throw in there, absolutely be my guest. So I'm going to just start giving it a stir. And again, these mustard greens will, begin to wilt down a little bit once they're incorporated with everything and once we've got this dressed and everything like that. And of course I'm making a mess because that's just how I live my life, so get used to it. Okay, so for this particular dish, I don't make a dressing separately. I just go ahead and dress the ingredients right directly into the bowl. So I'm going to use my favorite olive oil, a little bit of a slightly nicer olive oil that I reserve just for salads and other preparations where I'm not going to be cooking it. I'm just going to be tasting it as is. So gave a generous amount of that. I also love to keep a bottle of lemon juice handy. I use lemon juice in lemon or lime juice in like almost everything that I cook. And I do keep fresh lemons and limes in the house, and those are great to have, and I love to have one on the side of my plate pretty much for every meal. But it's really nice to also just have a bottle of lemon juice because I use it in such quantities, and it is a real time saver. So, and in preparations like salad dressings and stuff like that, I think, you know, it's completely fine to use a pre-bottled lemon juice. It still tastes totally great. So little time saver for you there, or just another way to kind of keep yourself stocked and prepared. Yeah, so I'm gonna start giving that a nice stir. Again, this is a lot of ingredients, so you want to be pretty generous on your seasoning. The olive oil and the lemon are really going to make a big difference, and then of course our salt and pepper. And again, this is just a really simple dish. I'm not adding a ton of spices or flavorings. I'm just keeping it really simple. You know, spring comes around, I just get so excited that, you know, spring asparagus is here, and I can finally kind of really get back into eating a lot of different veggies. I mean, I eat veggies all year round, but there's just something special about how produce starts to feel once the weather starts getting warmer. Produce is feeling more bountiful, and it just tastes more delicious when it's in season. And I don't know, it just feels like I don't have to kind of do as much to it to really get excited about eating it. So, again, generous amounts of olive oil, of salt, of pepper, of lemon juice. And we're just going to add a couple of more things to make this really shine. First of all, my feta cheese. Feta, I was going to say it's my favorite cheese. I don't know if I could really stand by that. I am a lover of all cheeses, but I will say that for salads, I really am a big fan of feta. I think for me, feta in salads is just definitely my favorite. I just love that it has this nice, really nice kind of salty. It's salty, it's tangy, it's creamy. It's a really lovely element to just tie a salad together for me. So I added a good amount of that, probably about 3-4 ounces, just crumbled it in, or maybe the equivalent of about a half cup. Feel free to add as much as you like, no harm there. If feta's not your thing, you could totally sub in maybe like a goat cheese. It's a little bit more mild. For a vegan version, it would be absolutely delicious to crumble in some marinated feta. It would be really lovely, or something like that. And again, if you're not doing dairy, you can always just skip the cheese as well. I would say maybe go even a little bit more on the olive oil and lemon juice just to make sure your flavors are really popping and you really have that tart acidity. But yeah, it will still absolutely be delicious. And of course, you know, can't get away without snipping some scallions over the top of everything, because that's just my deal. So here we are. Again, I'm keeping it fairly simple for me. You know, I have a tendency to really go crazy with herbs and spices and tons of flavorings like that. And you could totally add some herbs here. You know, that would be absolutely delicious. Maybe a cilantro or a basil or any kind of tender herb that you have hanging out. But you really don't need it, especially if you do go with the mustard green. One thing that I really love about it is it's almost like a green and an herb in one. And kind of similar to like arugula or another really flavorful green. Because you're getting that heft, that body of the nice leafy green, but it's also super flavorful and it's adding a little bit extra zing as well. So yeah. You know, it's really just a super simple spring dish. It's really hearty with the couscous. It's a great side. I've done this alongside, you know, roast chicken or some nice little beef meatballs or any kind of protein. It would be great alongside, or just a really lovely dish on its own as well. Especially it's a great make-ahead dish. The nice thing about using like a sturdier green is you could totally, you know, this will last for a few days to even probably about a week in the refrigerator. It's perfect for like a picnic or to, you know, to take for lunch or anything like that. A great make-ahead dish for potluck or something like that. So yeah, it kind of checks all those boxes of things that I love in a recipe. All right, I'm going to give it a taste and just check for seasoning. I think I hit it pretty well. I am going to add a little bit more lemon juice and salt. Again, it's just, there's a lot, that couscous really is just begging for a lot of flavor to be added to it. So you want to make sure If it's tasting a little bit flat, add a little bit more lemon, add a little bit more salt and pepper, and you can always add a little bit more olive oil, which brings a really lovely, delicious flavor as well. Maybe I'll add a little bit more of that. You talked me into it. All right. Okay. We are pretty much there. I'm going to give it one more stir and taste, and then I'm going to toss it into my bowl for a more beautiful presentation. Such a big difference. Just a little bit more lemon juice and a little bit more salt really takes it over the top. Super duper flavorful. Okay. I'm going to, oops, mustard greens got away. Toss those in. I'm going to pour this into my serving bowl. Oh yeah, baby. There's a little bit more couscous that got stuck to the bottom, but that's okay because it's all getting incorporated now. But make sure you really dig down when you're mixing and get everything mixed in. And that is my spring couscous and asparagus and mustard green salad. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you give this recipe a try. Let me know if you do. Let me know how it goes. I would love it if you would give this video a like if you liked what you saw, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos. Leave me a comment below. I always love to hear what you're thinking, and if there's another salad or another dish you'd love to see me make, definitely let me know and I will give it a try. You can find the full recipe for this at on my blog, which is dinneratmidnight.com. I'm on Instagram at dinneratmidnight, and you can tag all your salads, any salad, with the hashtag #saladAtMidnight and join in my ongoing salad party because I am obsessed with salad. So I hope you're having an amazing spring. Thank you so much for stopping by. From my messy kitchen to yours, I'm Zoe Rose. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.